The tourist brochures tell you Darling is the heartbeat of the West Coast and the Swartland. Today, Darling nestles between vineyards and fields of golden wheat and is a place where the old and the new live side by side. The village was founded in 1653 and named after Henry Charles Darling, who arrived in the Cape as Lieutenant Governor.
Once a year, Darling sheds its tranquil country mantle to host the opening round of the ABSA Off-Road Championship, with the Adenco 400 turned into a community project by the citizens of Darling and surrounding areas. The peace and quiet of the country village is shattered by the sound of high-powered engines as teams from around the country get ready to go racing after a long off-season break. For the Castrol Toyota team, it had been a race against time.
We worked all night on Thursday to get the second car, Anthony's car, into the track, and I think they left 4 o'clock in the morning and arrived 11:30 last night. Not the ideal situation, but we've got 2 cars here. We managed to do about 40 Ks with Duncan's car the day before at Durotex, so we got a little bit of a base to start.
Over in the Ford Racing camp, former SA champion Neil Woolridge is now managing a team that includes current SA champions Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst.
I must say mixed emotions. When people ask me about it, I'm not quite sure how to answer yet. But yesterday when I packed my bags, it was the first time in 30-something years that I didn't pack my helmet into the bag. So a very, very strange feeling, and something I guess I'm going to have to get used to.
There's plenty of family rivalry in off-road racing. While Chris Visser is now a member of the factory Ford racing team, older brother Jannie remains a Toyota man.
Ja, dit gaan baie interessant wees. Ons gaan maar sien hoe gaan dit gaan vandag. Maar ek glo nie ons sal by Chris kan ry nie. Ons is maar 'n bietjie nog jonk in die klas. Ons sal maar net probeer om goed klaar te maak vandag.
Dis 'n nuwe seisoen wat ons van voor af weer kalm gaan vat. Jy weet, die belangrikste is nog steeds, of ons motto is nog steeds om jy moet oor die eindstreep ry voor jy iewers kan kom.
Ford has done a lot for us this year. I think they have decided that they will help their privateers, and we really appreciate that.
The draw by the top 5 seeded crews for start positions on the Donaldson Prologue is always a lively affair with plenty of banter. Crews don't particularly enjoy the Pathfinder role that comes with first on the road, and there was a roar from the assembled crews when SA champion Chris Visser drew the #1 spot in his first outing for the Ford Racing factory team.
Yeah, #1, so I hope it keeps on being #1 this year. So yeah, I must say I don't enjoy it to be in front, but luckily the frames are in front, so they'll open the road a little bit. Yeah, I must say we'll just go as fast as we can.
The 60-kilometre Donaldson Prologue to determine start positions for the race crisscrossed the R315 road to Malmesbury and the R305 road to Mamre. The route proved to be tight and demanding, and temperatures in the 30s made life even more uncomfortable for the crews.
The Donaldson Prologue is a sprint race within a race, and nowadays plays an important role in the overall scheme of a race weekend. The competition in both the production and special vehicle categories is fierce, and finishing out of the top 5 or 6 on the Prologue immediately puts teams on the back foot. Taking a conservative approach to the Prologue is a tactic full of risk when it comes to race day.
There was huge interest in the move to Ford racing by SA champions Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst, with former champions Neil Woolridge and Kenny Shortheimer taking a sabbatical after campaigning together for over a decade. A switch to left-hand drive and diesel power did not appear to have taken the edge off Visser and Badenhorst's pace. There was also a great deal of interest in the new Team Castrol Toyota Hilux double cabs in the hands of Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin, and former South African champion Duncan Foss and Rob Howie. The V8 motors sounded good, but new race cars are notoriously fickle pieces of machinery, and it did not take long for Taylor and Birkin to run into trouble.
The unfortunate Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin were just 12 kilometres into the Prologue when the Castrol Toyota sputtered to a stop. Fuel starvation caused by overheating fuel was later diagnosed as the problem. While precious minutes ticked away for Taylor and Birkin, Hannes Grobler and Henny Tersteger had quickly settled into a rhythm in the diesel-powered RFS BMW X3. Grobler and Tersteger are wily old campaigners, and on a tight and technical route were putting to work a wealth of experience that saw them set the fastest time in the production vehicle category. Only 29 seconds behind them were the impressive Thomas Rundle and former SA champion Jean Moore in the X-Factory Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara, with Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst completing the first three on their Ford debut, despite being hampered by an intercom failure.
A steady run took the Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux of Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen into fourth place. Although the pair had a clean run, Berthold complained the Hilux was lacking a little in power, and a few extra horsepower would have come in useful.
Like most of the crews, Berthold and Vermeulen had some good things to say about a route that was more technical than in recent years. There was also an encouraging start to the year by Cobus van Tonder and son-in-law Freddie Kriel in the Uni-Freight Ford Ranger. After a disappointing season in 2010 punctuated with did-not-finish results, the Harry Smith crew are waiting for a new V8 to replace the current V6 power plant and are looking forward to more technical and other support from Ford. Van Tonder turned to off-road racing after a successful career in polo cross and also played rugby at Cravenweek level. While Van Tonder and Kriel were making good progress, matters had come to standstill for Christian de Plooy and Henk Janse van Vieren in the RFS Toyota Hilux. The Toyota was beached on a hump at a road crossing, and a lot of huffing and puffing and digging was going to be needed to get the pair on their way again.
It was a frustrating setback for the RFS crew, who will be in a new BMW X3 in the next event in Mpumalanga in April. The clock was running against the Pretoria crew, and Rustenburg father and son pair Willem and Dana Vos had already moved ahead of them. Former Class E champions Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux also picked up a place in the Team Barberspon Toyota Hilux. And next to take advantage of the RFS crew's misfortune were the Regent Racing Nissan Navara pair of Terence Marsh and new co-driver George Smallberger.
Not far behind Terence Marsh and George Smallberger were brothers-in-law Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson in the second Regent Racing Nissan Navara. Whitehouse and Carlson had built up a reputation for consistency while competing in both the special and production vehicle categories, and de Plooy and Janse van Vieren were still stuck when they appeared on the scene and then disappeared up the road. De Plooy and Janse van Vieren had already lost over 10 minutes, and with each passing car, the prologue turned into even more of a disaster for the young crew. Loder Brain and Rian Greylen wasted no time in also getting ahead of the RFS Toyota, and after losing around 15 minutes, de Plooy and Janse van Vieren finally managed to free the car and rejoin a race that had for them turned into heartbreak. De Plooy and Janse van Vieren were not alone in their misery. It was also a frustrating afternoon for Duncan Vos and Rob Howie, with the second Team Castrol Toyota entry hit by fuel starvation and prop shaft problems that dropped them down the finish order.
It had also been a long day for Northwest crew Malcolm Koch and Johan Burger in another of the Toyota Hilux entries running in the Premier SP class. Koch and Burger were running ahead of Class D champions Dion Venter and Ian Palmer in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux. They were the quickest of the Class D cars by a wide margin, while Team Castrol Toyota Hilux pair Duncan Vos and Rob Howie found themselves in the unaccustomed position of having to chase down Class D and Class E cars.
The experienced Deirdre Hutting and new co-driver Christo Bosman were the only finishers in Class E in the Transcore Toyota Hilux. They were followed home by the Land Rover of brothers Jack and Cyril Oosthuizen, who were second in Class D, albeit some 12.5 minutes behind the Venter Palmer car.
At the rear of the field, it had been a troubled day for medical man Johan de Lange and son Roelof, who battled a myriad of problems that included clutch and gearbox woes. Meanwhile, back at the Darling Club, the post-mortems had started.
I think we can do the same pace as today, you know, and just stay out of trouble and keep it on the road, you know. And I think if we are going to lead, then, you know, it's going to be a little bit more stress on the navigator to keep us on the right road. And at the end, that's what's going to tell.
I think we're second at the moment, and it's probably a good thing because you can go in second after the first car gone through the new terrain. But it's very important these days. if you are 5th or 6th, you already have a problem to get into the front because of the pace is so good.
This year was a little bit different than last year. It was much tighter, much up and down, much more rough. So I hope the last section tomorrow is going to be a little bit better than today. But I must say it was quite nice. Nice feeling of the car. It's a little bit different in the handling and that. But other than that, I think we're third on the road at the moment on the bucky. So I think it's 12 for 4.
There were a series of contours, and at the end there was a left turn through a gate, and as we turned into the corner, the last contour just caught us. It was soft sand in the bottom of the contour and just started tipping the car over. And because we were carrying speed into the corner, it just flopped over onto its side, and then with the momentum we went over once more. Nothing big, but it's quite all mainly cosmetic damage, but yeah.
The ABSA Cape Epic and the ABSA Off-Road Championship is established as 2 of the major events on the South African sporting calendar. The 8-day mountain bike event is an African adventure, and joining thousands of riders this year will be former SA Off-Road champion Duncan Vos.
Well, Toyota also one of the sponsors of the Epic, and the perfect opportunity came about with me driving racing cars for Toyota. And I love mountain biking, and it's vital to my training for the racing cars. So they invited me to join their team, and I've always wanted to do it, and as I said, this is a perfect opportunity.
ABSA sponsorship manager Stuart Masela says there's a synergy between the ABSA Cape Epic and the ABSA Off-Road Championship.
This is the start for us of a grueling relationship that we have with the participants. I think now that we're starting with the ABSA Off-Road, and at the end of the month we're going to be going ABSA Cape Epic, so it's only getting stronger and stronger.
There is not much between off-road racing and mountain bike racing when it comes to fueling a competitive nature, and Vos is looking forward to a new challenge.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's in 2 weeks' time. We've trained quite hard, myself and my partner, Patrick, who is also associated with Toyota. So we're really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a tough 9 days, but we'll see if we're up to it.